Are you looking to make some viral edits like this?
Leaning, I need me a kickstand. All black, all reek, man.
It's super easy. Let's get started. Alrighty, so here we are in After Effects. As you can see, I've got my clip here and I've also got my music. What we're gonna do is layer everything. So first of all, I'm gonna take my clip here, and as you can see, it's now on my timeline, and I'm gonna put the music right below it. And now what I'm gonna do is try to find the point in my song at which I actually want the clip to like sync up to. So for example, the shot. Now something to note is that this clip is really trash. Like, as you can see, the quality isn't that great, and I have my actual recording quality pretty high, so you should be able to see how trash this clip looks. Something you can do while you're editing is click on your music and then hit L twice on your keyboard really quickly, and you can see the audio waveform now, so it'll be easier to find when the actual beat drops. So as you can see, this little part here where it goes up is where my beat actually drops, so that's where I'm gonna move to where the shot gets hit. This person's using a heavy sniper, so I decided to actually put the beat drop where the person shoots, which will just end up giving the clip more impact. So now I usually like to sync my clip, so what I'm gonna do is click on this layer here, which is my video, go to time and go to enable time remapping. And right here, I'm gonna make some keyframes wherever the beat hits, wherever there's an impact, so I can add some velocity between the frames. So here I just made some keyframes. I made one when the character bounced on the little thing down here. I made one when they bounced on this thing, and then also once they bounced off the bouncer. And these are all just key points, and I also added one for the shot. And then I can sync all these different points to different beat impacts, and I'll get something that looks really clean. So now everything's all keyframed up, everything's on beat, so as you can see, I'll play it real quick. Now something I do want to point out is that this was a little offbeat because of the way the clip was taken. So this guy landed on a bouncer and there was a shockwave as well. So like it was a little off point, as you can see, like he moved pretty slow off of it and then the shockwave hit. So for that type of thing, I just keyframed where he started to move a lot, and then I just dragged it close so that way it was clean. So it was right on beat there. Just like that, as you can see. So now comes the crucial point in the edit where you have to actually use velocity. So what I like to do is highlight all these keyframes, hit F9 on my keyboard, and this turns them all into easy ease, which looks something like this. Which obviously does not work well for an edit like this. So what we're actually going to do is highlight all these keyframes, which I've already done here, and then click on this little graph editor here. And from here, we're going to be able to control the velocity, so that way it like looks clean. So right now, like the time right now is like super slow, and then it hits a point where it picks up in the middle, as you can see here. And then once it flattens out again, then that's how you know the time's moving slow in the clip again. So I usually like to increase this right at the start of a beat hit. So like, as you can see, something like that. I like make it go up. And I would do that again for this one. And then I would just keep doing that for the different beat impacts. I do have a thing called flow, which makes this super easy. If you guys don't have flow, I would recommend it. It's an extension. So I like to highlight these, and then I can use different time graphs, like pre-made time graphs on here that give me pretty good results. I do like to leave a little bit of time at the end. I don't like when it's super slow like this, unless I'm adding motion blur, which I usually do. On this, I did add motion blur. Or I used frame blending, and I set it like this, so as you can see, the frames still sync together. Alrighty, so my velo graphs are all done. I'll show you what I have for them, guys. So it's pretty much what I said. I just made the bumps a little bit less, so that way things flowed a little bit more smoothly. With the newer seasons of Fortnite, there is already some velocity added for the Victory Royale, so I didn't really touch it too much. I did obviously add a little bit of a speed hump here right after the kill happens, just because I thought it looked pretty cool. I did actually add another keyframe for when the person does get killed, and I ended up syncing that with, there's a haha ad lib on the track, so I did that, and I'll show you guys what that looks like here. So it's pretty clean. Obviously it could be cleaner, but I mean, you guys can really work with it as much as you want to make it as clean as you're looking to make your edit. So for me, this is good enough. So now I want to add a bunch of effects to our video layer to make it actually look like good, like color grade it. So what I'm first going to add is this thing called S_hotspots. So you need the Sapphire plugins. Drag this on here. And as you can see, it just got super dark. Now the reason I decided to go with this is because Ken Carson's most recent music videos have used S_hotspots to make it like super dark and grimy looking. So that's what I decided to do here. Then I'm going to add curves, which is just to brighten some of the colors here, make them a little bit brighter so you can see like this. I'm also going to turn on this threshold here, so I'm going to make this value 0.4. That just helps you get a little more visibility, adjust the curves a little bit. So now it's still super dark, but you can see what's going on. And next I'm going to add sharpen, which just gives it a little bit more of the same type of feel that I'm going for. So I'm going to give it like 70 on that. We'll keep it at that number, perfect. And we're going to also add some noise. So we'll just drag that on like that. And probably make it like around that much, around 50%. And I'm also going to turn off use color noise, just so it's more dark like this. Of course, it's totally up to you. I do think I'm going to put a little bit less noise than that. Probably go with like 30. So now we pretty much have the same color layout as the example video. So moving on to some of the actual effects, what I decided to do is make a cool little particle thing. So when the character's in air, there's like particles that become the character. So for that, I decided to go into my composition here, and I cut right where the character became fully visible and there was no like frame blending. So as you can see here, there's frame blending. Like right here, there's not really much frame blending. And I went to my composition, I cut right here, and I also cut at this first keyframe here where time started changing. And I cut that and made it into this composition here. And then from this composition, what I'm going to do is copy and paste this here. And then I'm going to start rotoscoping around the player. So what this does is isolates the layer of video with the player from the background video. So right here, as you can see, I'm going to double click this, and now we're ready to rotoscope this. So I'm going to highlight my character here, and for the sake of this being an example, I'm not going to make this perfect because it does take a little bit to get it perfect. And if you just hit spacebar on your keyboard, it'll start playing out. So as you can see, this is playing back, and it's not perfect by any means. In fact, it's pretty horrible actually, but you would be able to just go back and you can fix it on any frame you want and get it more clean. For the sake of keeping this tutorial kind of concise, I'm going to keep it like this. And now if I go back to the main composition, you'll be able to see that if I were to turn the visibility of this background layer off, we just have the character isolated. So what I decided to do with this in the example video is I added this effect called CC ball action, and what this does is creates the particles. So now as you can see, I've just applied it, and our character is literally just looking like bubbles. So that is because the ball size is super high. So what I did in the example video is I had the grid spacing set super low, so I put this on like 0, and then I made the ball size pretty small as well. So I'll keep it at like 50 right here. And then what you're going to change is this scatter value right here. So what this does is the higher this is, the more spread out the balls are. So you can make them all come together at a certain point. So what I'm going to do for my clip right here is I'm going to turn on keyframing. I'm going to make the scatter be like kind of far out, probably like maybe like 200 or something around there. And then right when the character hits the bounce pad here, I'm going to make this be 0. So you can see like all the balls come together at one point. Now, right now it's not super clean because the keyframes are like just not super clean. They're just like linear. So I'm going to highlight these, hit F9 for easy ease, and then I'm going to make them converge more towards the end. So what I like to do is something like this, or actually maybe reverse that. I'll do like this. And what that's going to do is right towards the end, all the particles are going to be drawn together. I actually don't like that this scatter is super high here. I don't think I had it that high during the example video. So we're going to decrease this right here. I do think I'll actually increase the ball size as well. So now I have something like this. which I like, but at the same time, I don't want the particles to be all the way out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the opacity until it becomes a little bit closer so it looks a little nicer. So I'm really trying to aim for when things start to move. So things really start to move, it looks like right here-ish. So I'm going to drag my opacity like that. And now you can see it kind of cleanly, it nice and like cleanly fades in here. So there you go, so that's a nice little particle effect, as you can see. And now we start moving into more of the impact type of effects. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into my composition again here, look for the keyframes that I want the effect to be between. So I want it to be between this keyframe right here and also this keyframe right here. So what I'm going to do is go to this keyframe, go to my composition, I'll make a space like this, and that is the area where I want this next effect to be applied. So now I'm going to add this effect here called uni.hollow matrix, and that does a lot of the work for me. So this makes a lot of different glitches happen. It's a super cool effect. I'll play it for you guys real quick so you can see it. And as you can see, it does actually affect the frame rate. So I like a lower frame rate right here because it makes it feel like you're playing a retro video game. So for this frame rate, I'm actually going to change this to 12. I don't like this chromatic aberration effect, so I'm going to take that off. And that's this color separation check here. And now as you can see, the clip is super blue. And I didn't have it like that for the example clip. So what I actually decided to do was I added a lumetri color. And I just turned the saturation all the way down. So now as you can see, this is super dark. Now something to note is that in the example clip, it was a YouTube short, which means that it was formatted a little bit differently. That version was a different resolution. So now what I'm going to do is add the text. So if you've ever added text before in After Effects, it's pretty simple, you should know, but I'm just going to right click down here, go to new, go to text. And then I'm going to start putting whatever words that are being said right on the screen. And what I'm going to actually do is stretch these just to like fit the actual like edges of the screen here. So I'm going to stretch this like this. So as you can see, I've added my text here, so I'll play that back for you guys. So it's pretty synced up. I got it as close as I could. And then what you're going to want to do here is I combined all of these layers. I pre-composed them. I moved them into a new composition. And then what I decided to do is add scan lines, which once again is with the Sapphire plugin. I just thought that made it fit super well into the current scene. So as you can see, this is what I ended up with. You could also definitely play around with the color settings. Like something I considered doing originally was using a different mode here, like color burn for example, and then switching the actual color of the text. But yeah, you could also go for something like overlay. Overlay looks super cool here as well. But for the example clip, I did use normal, and then what I did is I went into the comp and I turned down the opacity to something like this, because I wanted the text to be super visible. I do think overlay is super cool though. Maybe I'll honestly switch it to overlay. But yeah, that's how I added the text. And then after that, I just added a spinning overlay. So this I actually just downloaded right off of YouTube. And what I'm going to do is cut it. And I'm sure a lot of you guys know how to do this already. But I'm going to use color key, which is to remove the green screen. And I'm just going to adjust this like so. And then to make sure there's no extra green, I'm just going to add a lumetri color here. And I'm going to decrease the saturation all the way to 0 once again. So any green would become black if it was on the screen. And now I'm just going to crop out the little text at the bottom. I only want to keep the spinning bunny. And then I set this to color dodge here. It does look a lot better in the example clip because it's a different resolution. So that's just something to note. Now for this impact, I added a lot of different things, so I'm going to be going over those in just a second. It looks like this. Now, what I added for this is I added motion tile, S_shake, exposure, and S_flicker. And I also changed the transform on the default layer. Or you can also do it with an effect, which I did here. So I'll let you guys look at these values because I did change a fair amount of things here. So I'll scroll down through all of these. So you can see this is my shake. This is my exposure. This is just a regular exposure. S_flicker. And the types of graphs I made with these they look like this for most of them. I did that with my flicker as well. So you can see it's a little bit different. Here's my exposure. And here's the shake amplitude. And those are all the effects that make up this nice little shake here. Then with that, there's just a little bit more to add to this clip, and that is with deep glow. So what I did with the example clip is as soon as this person gets hit, I just added an adjustment layer like this, and then I go out just a little bit. I mean, for example purposes, I guess I can just go out to here, doesn't really matter. And then I added deep glow. And as you can see, it's super bright all of a sudden, which you probably don't want. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to turn the exposure down a lot. Put this to 0. I'm going to put it up to 1 as soon as the kill happens. So right here, like that. And I'll probably have it go down back to 0. And I'm going to keyframe this just like how I did the others as well. So once again, you highlight all these, F9. And something like this works. And that is pretty much exactly how I did the edit. So if I play this back for you guys, you'll see exactly what the edit should look like for you.
Your hoe, she your problem. Leaning, I need me a kickstand. All black, all rig, man.